Welcome to How You Go There, a podcast that goes beyond traditional success stories to uncover the real strategies, skills, and turning points behind people who make things happen. Hosted by Scott Montgomery, author of How Did You Get Here? Lessons of Unconventional Success, business owner and ICF certified leadership coach, alongside Linda Misegatis, a seasoned expert in business strategy, leadership development, and career transformation. Together, they bring sharp insights, real-world experience, and powerful storytelling to every episode. Listeners hear authentic conversations with professionals, leaders, and changemakers who've navigated big pivots, career breakthroughs, setbacks, and new opportunities. Subscribe now and join the next evolution of the journey, because this is how you go there.
How to develop those relationships, because even playing video games, you didn't invite your friends over to your house to play the video games. You're all online, so you're still not even talking to each other, or if you are,
Right.
you're doing it through a headset or a microphone or through chatting on there. You didn't even have to have proper grammar. I mean, that was
Or
a
be
big
showered,
transition for
or
me.
be
Or be
cleaned.
showered, or be clean, or have any social skills whatsoever, right?
Right.
And so
Totally.
I do think it's a big transition, especially as there's a big push to bring people back into the workforce, like back to the office, back to this. That's going to be a big transition for kids who were never trained those social skills in developing relationships and communications.
And what a great intro in today's episode, Linda, really. I mean, that was exactly what I wanted to hone in on. So today we're talking, it's great to see you, Linda. Thanks for being
You
here today.
too,
I'm really
absolutely.
excited.
Me too.
This topic, and it rejuvenates us. And I think, for our audience, so you've got your degree, you've graduated college. Now what?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So now what? What do you think's going to happen? So, I was just telling you before we started filming today, I went to Alabama and met with my son, who's in a fraternity. He's a freshman in college, and those kids have no idea what's coming for them in the real world because of the bubble that they live in.
Yeah.
And yet there is a sense of, what does the real world look like
Mhm.
for them? So there's an
Yeah.
awareness, but I was watching on social media a couple places, and I've been watching a couple kids graduate over the years, and to hear them think that they know what's going to happen as they graduate, like, oh, I've got my degree.
Yeah.
I've had
Mhm.
5 or 6 classes in my topic, and I'm going to go into the business world and I'm going to charge the most amount of money because I had the best college degree from the best school, and this is the rate I'm worth, only to
Yes.
I'm guessing, find out
Mhm.
you
That's
don't
not
really
how the
have it.
world that's not how the real world works, because it's even like the whole conversation when you think about, I remember being young and arrogant and thinking, yeah, you should pay me X amount of money because, look at how smart I am and look at the things I did. And that's just not how things work. And the problem is that with most kids coming out of college, if they haven't taken advantage of doing internships and getting some work experience under their belt, if they've just kind of maybe ridden the student loan, or maybe mom and dad were able to help them, and so they're not out there creating that work mindset. They're only in the college kind of learning mindset, right? You have
Right.
no practical application. Like when
Right.
I took college accounting, nothing I learned in college accounting prepared me for what real accounting was when I started working in all these different industries, and how do I apply that knowledge in a
Right.
way, and that's where your worth gets built, right? It's in the experience. It's not all in the knowledge, because there are a lot of smart people out there that aren't making any money. It's
Right.
about, how do I apply that knowledge in a way that makes a difference and shows my value in practical application.
No, I totally agree. And I think, in keeping with the platform you and I are developing as we go into the how you go there mindset and the shift of this podcast, it's about showing those generations and about helping those kids that are out of college in this part of the section. I mean, there's other
Right.
areas that this is of value, but one of the reasons I did the companion guide and I wrote the book, and what you just said, our connection, is that it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be overly complicated. And because
No.
you've got a degree and you can show me on the board that 2 + 2 = 4,
Mhm.
you haven't shown me how you relate You haven't shown me that
Yes,
you want to be in partnership with me. You haven't shown me that you want to be in relationship with me to
mhm,
move the needle forward on the mission in which you're applying for.
exactly.
And to be able to have this platform with you, and thank you for this, what we're doing. This is
Yeah,
so
I love
meaningful to
it.
me. And,
Yeah.
any opportunity to plug, how did you get here? Any opportunity, photo op.
Photo op.
But that message that's in there is the keep it simple version of all
Yes.
those tactical and practical things that
Yep.
we can help transition while they get their education and they learn that 2 plus 2 is 4. We can also sit down and talk about leadership skills, communication skills, how you're
Mhm.
going to create relationships and what that really looks like,
Yeah.
because it will ultimately end up mattering to the accounting model you use that you learned in
Right.
college that is different, to your point.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's completely and I think, kind of to your, to just what you were saying there as well is like, it's so important to like, for me as it was when I'm hiring people, I very rarely look at their resumes.
Mhm.
I go off of the interview and my gut, because I can tell a lot in a conversation about, 1, what do you really know? And I can teach you the skills, right? Because
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
most of the time unless I'm hiring a doctor, or a lawyer, most of this stuff, I can teach you a lot. And so
Mhm.
what I want to know is what are your communication skills? How are you going to fit into this? What do you think about being on a team and how are you going to contribute to being a part of that team? It's those things they are not going to teach you in college if you don't take the steps to develop those skills on your own in college, so
Right.
you're not going to know those things. So if you're relying solely on that degree, that's not going to be enough, for any employer. They're not going to look at that and say, because I can put anything I want on a resume,
Yeah.
but what does that tell you about who is Linda and how am I going to help your organization? And can I articulate that in a way that's going to resonate with whoever is, interviewing me, honestly? So,
No, and that's absolutely true, all of what you just said, and, to help people map to what we're talking about, there are college courses in communication. There are college courses in leadership. There are college courses in how to be an effective listener, right? So all of those things need to be mapped to the human experience is, I think, really
for
a net
sure.
net. And that human
Yes.
experience comes from the initiation of a recent grad. We're not all in the
Yeah.
business world lined up to go find the kids that have the skill set of 2 plus 2 in a leadership class. We are lined up to support those kids or those graduates rather that actually show the initiative to be in relationship, that actually show the initiative to
Yeah.
be a continual learner, that actually show the initiative in said interview to recognize
Yep.
that 2 plus 2 equaling 4 is not always enough in the world in which you and I work for
Mhm.
sure. And yet
Right.
the opportunities will come to them, and that's the hard part for college students from my lens and my personal experience with my
Mhm.
kids. I think I started to tell you I was down at Alabama this weekend. I was visiting my son, and we were at the
Yeah.
fraternity house that he's a member, and we were watching his basketball team lose in the Sweet 16. But anyway, that I digress. He,
It's April,
hi
Scott. March is over.
Okay, fine, fine, fine. But he was very disappointed. We were all disappointed. But
Yes.
what I was finding in that room full of other students, a few of them showed interest in getting to know how I was able to be there with my son and find the time to just up and leave my life and be
Right.
able to help support him in his college adventure. And
Sure.
the one or two kids that started to talk about that started to then unveil their career paths and what they're doing. And they stood out for me as a hiring person in the real world.
I
And
like
I
this.
said and I said to them, "Send me your resume. The
Yeah.
industry I serve might be different, but I know people and maybe that would give you a leg up because I
Mhm.
would do that for you based on your interest in conversation with me, not that you had
Yeah.
14 college class, right?" So it sends a message and it wasn't about the conversation, not to
Yeah.
nitpick it, but it's about those that show initiative to be something other than just a widget or bean counter, widget collector and
Yeah.
bean count, right? Like that's what I
No, it
think.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and
I'm
like you
painting
were
myself
saying, there are classes, right? To your point, you
sure.
can take
Yeah.
communication, presentation, all of that. who cares? So take the class, but then apply the knowledge. And so
Apply.
if you're going to take a communication class, then take the skills that you learn in that, and then go join some club or go put yourself
Hmm.
in a weird situation. Go to a conference where you don't know anything or anybody, and go work the room. Figure out, how
100%.
do I start a conversation? Like, those were the skills that I was lacking so much in, is
Yes.
those types of skills to be able to small talk in a room,
Right.
to not be the wallflower because I didn't know how I fit into all of this.
Right.
So, did I know how to communicate? Yeah. If you want to talk to me about work, oh my gosh, I could talk your ear off. But if you just wanted to, like, how was I going to get you to start talking about what I want you to talk about if I didn't even know
Right.
how to start the conversation,
That's
right?
exactly right. That's exactly what we're talking about today and what we're trying to that's exactly right. Now, so for me, that was actually always my strong suit. I was always the one to drive the conversation and drive the narrative of what
Yeah.
it meant for me to be in the room, not have others decide for me what it meant for me to be in the room.
Right,
And
right. Yeah.
that is a really interesting place to put this conversation for our listeners, because if you're going to wait to be decided and think that your degree is going to stand you up as something of interest,
Yep.
you're sorely mistaken. In
You
any
are.
in any environment, you're sorely
Yes.
mistaken.
Well,
And
and
so
think about employers, right? How many employers say entry level job, but they want 3 to 5 years of experience? Well, that's not technically an entry level job, but that is standard in the industry. How do you get that? Well, go work while you're in college and get some experience so that you can say, I have 3 to 5 years of experience after getting my college degree because I did this or I was doing that. Like, it doesn't have to be working in corporate America. It can be an application of the skills that you're bringing that you can say, I do actually have that experience and I can meet those requirements.
it's huge. And to be able to say to someone like in the example you had right there, guaranteed they're not dropping their resume off in a cold bin if they've got those relationships. I have never sent my resume to anyone cold ever in my
Yeah.
career, ever.
Yeah. That's a
I've never
great,
had
great
to.
tip. Yeah. No.
And I think it's a tip that drives behavior is why I share that, right? So
Yeah.
people say you're so unexpectedly successful and whatever they rank my success to look like, I feel it, but it's different for
Right.
everybody. If you drive your own narrative, there is no greater success. And if you're
It's a
driving
great
your own
point.
narrative, right? And if you're driving your own narrative with a piece of paper or a degree and a connection, it's exactly what I said to my son, what you say about join a fraternity, join a recreational group, join
That's
something
good.
of interest in business, because those connections will absolutely lead you somewhere else. With over a decade of experience, WorldGate LLC is your trusted partner in IT staffing, project management, and UKG solutions tailored for the public sector. We help government agencies and organizations navigate complex technology landscapes, implement effective workforce solutions, and build high-performing teams. From strategic staffing to seamless systems integrations, we bring the experience and reliability to execute, empower, and exceed for our customers. Staffing? Check. Project management? Check. Public sector and UKG solutions? Check. Experience you can trust. Visit www.worldgatellc.com today. So people poo-poo social media. I have another story for you that kind of aligns to this that's actually kind of interesting that just came up while you were talking. I put on social media specific to the platform, the topics at hand. So in LinkedIn, I stay pretty business
Hmm.
centric and offering centric and experience centric. On my personal platform, it's all kids and kid radio and vacations and parties and fun stuff. And then in my, this platform, it's about leadership coaching development, our
Yeah.
podcast clips and everything else. I had a young man was starting his career send me a LinkedIn note and say, "May I come to your office and bend your ear a little bit around what I want to do with my career?"
Wow.
And he had been on a baseball track and he was doing a lot of hard work in that, and he got some sort of syndrome that made him not want to go to baseball anymore, and he decided to go the business route, and he really enjoyed leadership development. And he's like, "So
Okay.
how do I get into leadership development? I was trying to develop the leaders in baseball and now I want to do it in business." And so
Yeah.
we chatted a few times, we got to know each other a little bit, and I had just gotten certified by a firm here in Northern Virginia in the Life 360 assessment platform.
Okay.
And I said, why don't I introduce you to him as someone, the owner of the firm who certified me. Why don't I introduce you to this guy, and maybe he can also expand on that for you, maybe more than I can. I'm happy
Yeah.
to meet with you, and I'll happy to connect you. Not even 2 months later, I got an email that he was starting a full-time job in that firm, and he worked there for 3 years.
Is awesome.
Got married, had a kid in that time, served its purpose, stayed in
Yeah.
connection with me, stayed in connection with them, and now he's out on his own doing his own thing. The
I
second
love
kid on
that.
its way. And that story really matters to what we're trying to talk about, right? So
Totally does. Yeah.
it's about connections and relationships. I don't see him very often anymore. I was a blip in the radar of his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he took the initiative and he came in humble and he came in smart and strategic, and he was as nervous as anybody could be the first day I met him. But
Oh,
he
for
took that
sure.
step. He took
Yeah.
that step.
And that's it, it's taken the leap, I it makes me think about, when I first went to work for the company that I work for today, the way that I ended up here was because I took the initiative and I reached out to the vice president and said, "I don't think you understand what you're doing. I understand you're getting,"
Bold move.
I had a very bold, in this industry, not in general,
Sure.
but in the
Fair.
government industry, and
Yeah.
just to say, I'd love to bend your ear. At that time, I wasn't trying to turn it into a job. I didn't think they were going to hire me at all. Like, that wasn't my intention. It was really one, to develop a relationship, but also to share some insights that maybe could help other people in the future. And
Right.
that ended up through that conversation. I went from leading payroll departments to now working for the company that I work for today. And it was all because of exactly what you talked about.
Well, and
And if
leading the
I look
department that
back,
you run.
well,
Yeah.
and leading the department, and, if I look back, if you didn't say those things, I wouldn't make the connection, but as I look back on my career, every single job that I went from the one to the next were all because of relationships and networking that I had done. Didn't even
Wow.
realize I had created that environment. It's only since you and I have been talking and I kind of reminisce a little bit, and I'm like, well, holy cow, I got that job because I knew this person over there and I reached out to him. We stayed connected. When an opening
Wait,
came
wait,
open, they
hold
reached
that
out.
thought. Hold that. You reached out
I
is the
reached out.
piece.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
the piece people are missing.
Really good point, good
The
point.
entitlement of, well, I've got a degree, I should be getting the phone
Y
call, or
Good
because I got a
point.
degree, I go to the top of the list, or
Yeah,
because I'm smart and know what 2 plus 2 equals 4, I should be on the top of the list. People miss the humanity of the reaching out.
that's a
The
really good
reaching
point.
out.
Yes, yes, yeah, I didn't think about that, you're right, it with because I guarantee you if I wouldn't have reached out, it's not like they were gonna reach back to me, and not because, wasn't smart or I didn't have the skills or anything, it's I'm not on their mind. What They're not sitting there going, "Gee, I wonder what
Right.
Linda Misegatis is doing these days," So
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
dominoes fall in this topic, right? Because then you build a nurturing relationship with other people. You go into a relationship with, I mean, look at our podcast right now. You and I have been in a
yeah,
relationship for 15 years, 10 or
yeah,
15 years now,
yeah,
it seems. I don't even know if I have it right, but we trust each other. We have built and established through thick and thin
yeah,
times.
yeah,
And we are still going strong in that place where we want to move those stories forward is
yeah,
so important to our listeners that I really wanted to have this episode be about.
I love
So
it.
you've got your degree and you've got all the credentials and you're pedigreed.
Yes.
Now what?
Now
What
what
are
are you
you going
gonna
to
do
do?
with it?
You
Yeah.
gotta make the phone call. You
Yes,
have
yeah.
to get into a relationship. You have to be in a good partnership. They come in time and they come in waves and all the stuff, but you have to communicate effectively. You
Yes.
have to network. You might consider leadership coaching. You might
Yeah.
consider, communication tactics that improve your reception when
Join
you reach out to someone.
Toastmasters,
Right, right.
join the speech debate club, even if you don't even care about that sort of stuff. Those skills that you'll learn from doing those types of activities by themselves, like, you don't have to love, like, I did that when I was in grade school. I did the Mile High Optimist Club, and I got the opportunity to go and do these speeches when I was young in front of these people judging you. But what it did is it helped me in my communication, right? It helped me
Sure.
to communicate more clearly, to articulate in a different way. Did I want a career in doing speeches? No, I did not. But it's helped me today now that I've gained the confidence to be out there and be a public speaker. Had I not done those, maybe I don't have the same skill sets that I have today, type of thing. So,
Well, and even just taking it past Toastmasters or any kind of formal education, I believe you showed up on my door when I posted on LinkedIn what we were doing. I
Yes.
showed I showed up on your door 10 years ago when you had a platform that maybe was of
Yes.
interest to us. And I will also share that when I opened up WorldGate, the consulting services firm that I own and operate with my wife, I literally made friends that were in the same industry. They worked for me, I worked for them. And I remember one day we decided to go knock on the door. This is the
Mhm.
humanity piece of a department in the government that was going to hire the skill set of people that we were going to offer.
Okay.
We walked in the door. Back then, you could walk in the door, but the invitations, you can get inside and meet people. You can go to where they
Yeah.
are, whether it's the office or the bar. And
Absolutely.
we dropped off a business card and we dropped off both service offerings of what we do. And the customer went with my friend, and that customer is my friend's customer to this day. And that was 25 years ago.
It's amazing, right? I mean, it's the little things like that, but it's until you do the self-reflection, right, and looking at that. And so I think our goal is to maybe not have to put you in a position where you do that self-reflection. We want you to have those skills right now. So you
Yes.
graduated from college. We want to catch you while you're still in school, right? So be
Yeah,
thinking about
sure.
these things. And
Hmm.
then once you graduate from college, take and apply these simple, because they are really simple. I mean,
They are.
I wish
And
somebody
guess
would have
where they're
wrote a book.
captured?
Oh, you
And look,
did, you wrote a
and
book. Oh my
they're captured right here. Well, this is
well,
the companion guide.
and I
So
love it. Yes, well, because you took
great plug.
great plug, right? I'm getting good at this.
Yes, you are.
Is that you made it simple, and
Yes.
that's the key to it. Because when it's hard and you've gotta like nobody's gonna just invest the time to do those things. It's we just don't have time. We're in such a time suck environment today, from social media to our constant connection to everything going on. So to be able to bring it down into bite-sized chunks, which is what you've done, and just simplify it all, it doesn't have to be hard. None of this stuff is hard. You just have to have a little discipline and put a
Yeah.
little bit of focus.
And you have to
And
do
really,
it.
yeah, and the investment is in yourself, right? We're not
Right.
asking you to do this because it benefits you or me. We're saying invest in yourself because that's the most important investment you'll ever make.
These are the lessons of unconventional success that we feel you and I experienced are of value to the next generation. So that while that ties to the stories of the first book, the companion guide that you started to talk about really is good because
Yeah.
we can talk about the stories, we can interact with the students, we can get you graduated, and
Yep.
then take this companion guide and apply those exercises when you're not in school anymore. They're very simple and easy to use, and they're going to drive you to these areas
For
of
sure.
what I call success is our relationship and the
Absolutely.
opportunities that have come from it that actually paid the mortgage, sure, also.
Yeah, exactly.
These are all things of success, and they can be very simple. People, please just remember to reach out to other people. And
That's the key.
and the
Yes.
tactics in which you do that and the way in which you bring substance are in the
Yes.
chapters of what we talk about, communication, all the
Absolutely.
stuff. And I really appreciate the way you speaking of it, and thank you for that because this is our mission. And
Yes.
my idea of saying it and your idea of saying it really complements for the listeners and for the people out there. And it's what opens doors for folks. So great to see you, Linda. It was a fantastic for those who are listening. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. There's a
Yes.
lot of good information coming, as we've talked
All
about.
major
As we
streaming services, right? Yeah?
Yes, and
Yeah.
we'll love to see and be able to support more of this generation of folks. So be sure to like and
Absolutely.
subscribe.